And joining us now, MSNBC Chief International Analyst, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, thank you so much for being with us on this special edition, weekend edition of our show. Let's talk about the targeting, the first phase, the command and control operations, intelligence centers, weapons facilities, supply lines, and particularly going after the Quds Force, the military arm of the Iranian regime, but not Iran's territory itself, and not the naval assets that might come in the next phase. What is your analysis of this first strike?
Well, if you'll permit the old grizzled admiral nautical metaphor, we're sailing in a very narrow channel here. On the one side is not doing enough, and that's clearly what's been happening. On the right side of that channel is where we are now, which is striking against Iranian assets, but not inside Iran. That's very important to the calculus here. And I think that that will communicate a distinct signal to the Iranians that we are quite serious. We are going to elevate, continue that vertical ladder of escalation as necessary. And I think you're correct, Andrea. The next phase here would be to go out to sea and go after Iranian ships, oil and gas platforms, intelligence assets. We're not there yet. Let's hope we don't get there. Let's hope the mullahs in Tehran are listening to the signal that was sent last night.
And, you know, it strikes me that the head of the Quds Force was General Soleimani, who is considered a martyr in Iran because he was assassinated in Iraq, on Iraqi territory, by the Trump administration. And in fact, there have been, retaliation threats and death threats against all of the national security officials who were directly involved in those decisions. To this day, it's well known, it's been widely reported that they have security. So they take it very seriously. The Quds Force has a broad reach. They have reached into the U.S., into Washington itself, with an attempted assassination against the Saudi ambassador in a prominent restaurant right in the middle of Georgetown.
Indeed, Cafe Milano, someplace you and I have been a bunch of times. And let's face it, yes, the Quds Force has a lot of reach. They also know that the United States of America has a lot of reach. And if I were General Salami, who is the current head of the Quds Force and took the place of General Soleimani, I would not be traveling to Baghdad anytime soon. So this plays both ways. I think at this stage of things, you're going to see the action unfold in the region, in Syria, in Iraq. U.S. does not want to strike Iran. Iran does not want to conduct an assassination against, for example, John Bolton at this point. Let's hope that both actors want to keep this at least inside the region. I think they will. But, Andrea, your point, it's worth worrying about that second-order effect. That could be the spark that really lights this thing off.
We've seen so far relative restraint from Hezbollah in Lebanon. They're part of the government there. They were devastated with the last war with Israel. They clearly do not seem to want another war, at least so far, and it may well have been deterred by the two carrier groups that the U.S. sent very early after October 7th. Yeah. That said, Iran does not seem to at least taken any messages passed by Jake Sullivan to China to please get Iran to stop these attacks by the Houthis against U.S. and international shipping. What is the likelihood that the Houthis will back off?
Let me start with Hezbollah and just agree with you. I think it's unlikely Hezbollah goes big here. They've got 130,000 surface-to-surface missiles they could direct against Israel. They know that would be existential for them. Israel would simply flatten southern Lebanon. I think the United States would be part of that campaign. So I think that's unlikely. The Houthis, unfortunately, Andrea, very much the most difficult of these proxies for the Iranians to control. They're going to continue, I think, to go after shipping. We had a very uncomfortable incident. U.S. Navy destroyer had to use its last-ditch defense system. I used to command a destroyer of that type. If you'd told me I was using my close-in weapon system to destroy a cruise missile, I would have been a very nervous captain. So Houthis are going to continue to fire away. I hope that Iran can reel them in. I think they can. That'll be the most difficult group to control. Hezbollah, I think, is firmly under the control of Tehran and unlikely to undertake a big campaign against Israel.